A lot of people think fast food is recession-proof. Then a familiar sign goes dark, the drive-through speaker is silent, and suddenly your usual stop feels risky. This video is a countdown of 15 chains under real pressure right now after years of pushing prices, add-ons, and shortcuts. By the end, you'll know the warning signs, what's driving them, and how to protect your time and money. Boston Market at number 15 is the kind of slow-motion collapse that looks invisible until you notice it's basically gone. This chain used to feel like a real meal fast shortcut. Rotisserie chicken, comfort food sides, and a price that made it feel like a smarter choice than a burger and fries. But the brutal truth is that when a chain falls behind on basic reinvestment, the decline can become self-feeding. Old dining rooms start to look tired. Equipment gets patched instead of replaced. Staffing gets cut to the bone, which means long waits, inconsistent portions, and a menu that feels like it's missing something half the time. Customers stop trusting it, and that is deadly in quick service. Industry reporting in late 2024 said the chain had dwindled to just 16 open locations in the United States, which is the kind of number that tells you the brand is no longer fighting a rough patch, it's fighting gravity. Now here's the part most people miss. Closures don't just happen because customers moved on. A chain like this often gets squeezed from both ends. On one end, costs climb, especially rent, utilities, labor, and food. On the other end, customers won't accept endless price jumps for a meal that still feels like basic chicken and sides. So the company tries to protect margin by trimming labor hours, shrinking portions, or quietly simplifying ingredients. That can boost short-term numbers on paper, but it makes the product worse in real life. Then traffic falls. Then franchisees and landlords get nervous. Then you start seeing sudden closures that feel like they happened overnight. If you ever walk into a location and see limited hours, a smaller menu than you remember, taped signs about being short-staffed all the time, and maintenance that looks ignored, that's not just a bad day. It's a chain sending you a signal that the money has stopped flowing back into the basics. Salad and Go at number 14 is a perfect example of a modern, healthy drive-through idea running into the wall of expansion reality. The pitch is simple. Fast salads, fast bowls, and fast drinks, priced low enough that you don't feel punished for trying to eat better. People want that. The problem is the machine behind it. A chain like this has to keep ingredients fresh, waste low, and training tight, because a salad that sits too long or is built inconsistently turns into a customer who never comes back. And when you expand into new states fast, you're not just opening stores, you're opening an entire supply chain problem. You need distribution that hits the right temperature windows. You need dependable vendors. You need managers who can run the playbook, not just memorize it. In early 2026, reporting said the chain planned to close dozens of stores and exit entire markets, including shutting locations in Texas and Oklahoma. A big pullback that shows the growth plan didn't match what the economics could support. The controversial lesson here is that affordable and healthy is harder than premium and trendy. When a chain goes cheap, it has less room to absorb waste, theft, spoilage, and labor errors. So when costs rise, the options get ugly fast. Raise prices and lose the value promise, or cut corners and lose the quality promise. A lot of brands try to do both halfway, and customers notice. If you love a chain like this, watch what happens to portion consistency, ingredient freshness, and whether staff seem rushed and overwhelmed. Those are often the first clues that the store-level economics are under stress, even before you hear about closures. Rubio's Coastal Grill at number 13 shows how quickly the cost of doing business story can turn into a survival story. The chain built a reputation around a specific lane, coastal flavors, fish tacos, and a fast casual vibe that feels lighter than greasy fried food. But seafood is a tough business. Prices swing. Quality matters. Waste is expensive. And location costs in certain states can be punishing. In June of 2024, the company filed for bankruptcy protection and planned to close 48 locations while continuing to operate dozens more, and court filings described a debt load that crossed $100 million. That's not just a slow quarter. That's a balance sheet telling you the business model got out of alignment. Here's the uncomfortable part. When costs spike, a chain like this can't just raise prices a little. Customers compare the experience to other options. If the price starts to feel close to a sit-down meal, people pause. If the portions feel smaller, people stop trusting it. And once traffic drops, the chain's fixed costs don't drop with it. Rent still hits every month. Equipment still breaks. Managers still need hours. So the pressure pushes toward trimming the menu, cutting labor, and pushing higher margin add-ons. That can make the food feel less generous and less special. If you want a simple way to see strain in a fast casual spot, look at the menu board. When you notice more limited time items, more bundles, more add-ons, and fewer simple staples, it often means the chain is trying to steer you toward better margins because the old math stopped working. Mod Pizza at number 12 sits in a crowded category that looks simple but is brutally competitive. Fast casual pizza. Customers love customization, but customization is slow, labor-heavy, and easy to mess up during rushes. A made-to-order line has to be fast and consistent, or the whole promise breaks. And the cost structure is tricky because stores can be expensive to build and staff, and a lot of sales can flow through delivery and takeout where fees and packaging eat into profit. After a period of financial strain and store trimming, the chain was acquired in mid-2024 in a deal widely described as a way to avoid a deeper crisis, and later industry reporting pointed to a shrinking footprint, including dozens of store closures in a single year. Here's why that matters to you as a customer. When a fast casual pizza chain is struggling, the temptation is to win traffic with discounts, then try to make it back with extra charges and smaller portions. That's where the greed feeling creeps in. You'll see it as more aggressive upsells for premium toppings, extra sauces, and add-on sides, while the base pie quietly gets less satisfying. Another pressure point is speed. When labor is tight, the line slows, orders stack, and mistakes rise. And mistakes are poison in pizza because one wrong topping feels like the whole meal is wasted. If you notice your store is constantly out of popular toppings, the app prices don't match the register, or the store keeps changing hours, those are not random annoyances. They're common symptoms of a chain trying to hold margins together while traffic wobbles. Noodles & Company at number 11 is a case study in how being in the middle can be dangerous. The menu is broad, the concept is familiar, but familiarity isn't enough when people start doing the value math harder. In early 2026, reports said the company planned to close between 30 and 35 restaurants that year, following a large batch of closures the year before, which signals that the leadership believes parts of the footprint simply can't earn their keep anymore. The big tension here is that bowls of noodles can look deceptively cheap to customers. People see pasta and think, this should not cost that much. Meanwhile, the chain is paying for protein, sauces, packaging, labor, rent, and the constant challenge of keeping food quality stable across many recipes. When costs rise, the company can either push prices up, or shrink portions, or cut protein, or steer customers to higher margin upgrades. Any of those can trigger the "they got greedy" reaction because noodles are one of the easiest foods to compare to home cooking. Another trap is menu complexity. A wide menu means more prep, more training, more room for error, and more waste. In a weak traffic environment, complexity becomes a cost multiplier. A fast casual chain under pressure often tries to simplify quietly. You might notice fewer customization options, fewer sauces, fewer seasonal items, and more focus on a handful of featured bowls. That's not always bad. Sometimes it's smart. But it often happens because the chain is trying to lower labor and waste fast, which usually means the customer experience was already drifting. TGI Fridays at number 10 is technically not a drive-through brand, but it has become part of the same quick meal ecosystem because so much of its survival now depends on takeout, delivery, and promotions that mimic fast food tactics. And the struggle has been public and severe. In November of 2024, the company's operator filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, and reporting around the case described a chain that had already closed a large number of locations before the filing and was trying to keep a limited set of company-run restaurants operating while it restructured. The hard truth about a legacy bar and grill chain is that it needs a certain kind of traffic to work. People staying longer, ordering drinks, ordering appetizers, and treating it like an experience. When the economy gets cautious, people cut the extras first. Drinks become one drink, then no drinks. Appetizers become, let's skip it. A chain can respond by pushing deals that fill seats, but deals can train customers to only show up when it's cheap. That's how you get trapped in a discount loop. And once you're trapped, cutting quality feels like the only lever left. You shrink portions. You move to cheaper ingredients. You run with fewer staff. You rush service. Then the brand becomes less of an experience and more of a compromise. And compromises don't build loyalty. The greed angle here isn't that a chain offers deals. It's that, over years, the incentives can push a company to chase short-term cash flow with promotions and cost-cutting while the dining room slowly stops feeling worth it. Red Lobster at number 9 is another borderline pick for fast food. But it matters because it shows how promotions and pricing gambles can break a big chain, and because its takeout and quick service behavior has grown over time. In May of 2024, the company sought Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, saying it planned to keep restaurants open through the process while it simplified operations and reduced locations as part of a broader restructuring. This is where the greed conversation gets complicated. Sometimes the move that looks greedy is actually desperate, like running a promotion that pulls in traffic but loses money, hoping volume will save you. When it doesn't, the damage can be huge. Seafood is expensive, and all you can eat is a dangerous promise when your food costs and labor costs are rising. Another pressure point is leases. A chain with big dining rooms carries big rent. If traffic falls, those fixed costs can crush you. So the chain starts closing locations. But closures can have a ripple effect. Fewer stores means less brand presence, fewer customers, and less leverage in purchasing. That can push costs higher, which pushes prices up, which pushes customers away. It's a vicious circle. If you've ever felt like a chain's special became a smaller portion, or an upcharge, or a deal that only works if you buy extra items, that is often a chain trying to survive a fixed cost problem by squeezing the ticket higher. Denny's, at number 8, shows how even a brand built on simple comfort can get squeezed when the whole cost structure shifts. A diner menu looks straightforward, but diner operations are not cheap. You have long hours, big menus, and a need for steady staffing. When labor gets tight and costs rise, keeping the doors open 24 hours stops being a badge of honor and starts being a loss. In recent years, the chain has been executing a plan to close underperforming locations, with reporting noting dozens of closures in 1 year and a higher closure pace planned after that, and broader coverage describing a total closure goal of roughly 150 locations as part of a system health reset. Here's where customers feel the greed pinch. Diner customers are extremely price sensitive because the food feels like it should be affordable. If prices rise sharply, people notice immediately. But if prices don't rise, margins can evaporate. So chains lean on tactics that look small but add up. Smaller portions, more paid add-ons, and more emphasis on higher margin items. You'll also see more pressure to push digital ordering and loyalty programs because data helps chains target deals only to the customers who need them. That can make it feel like the person paying full price is being punished for not using an app. Another tension is remodel spending. Companies often ask franchisees to refresh dining rooms to stay modern, but remodels cost real money. A struggling location might not be able to justify that spend. Then it closes when the lease comes up. If you want to spot diner strain, look at operating hours and staffing. When a diner that used to be open late starts closing early, or when the menu suddenly feels simplified, it's often the brand adapting to a labor and cost environment that no longer matches the old identity. Red Robin, at number 7, is a clear example of how traffic declines can force a chain to shrink itself into something that can survive. The brand has spent years trying to stabilize guest counts and improve the value perception, but the public filings show ongoing demand pressure. In results covering the fiscal year that ended in late December of 2025, the company reported guest traffic down 3.8% and comparable restaurant revenue down slightly, even with a noticeable benefit from menu pricing, and those kinds of numbers are why chains talk about rationalizing locations. Now let's translate that into normal human language. If you raise prices and traffic still falls, it means customers are not buying the story anymore. They are either trading down, eating at home, or choosing a competitor. At that point, your options are limited. You can discount to try to win traffic back, but discounts can crush margin. Or you can close weaker locations to stop the bleeding and focus on the restaurants that still have a loyal base. The greed feeling comes from what happens in between. Chains often try to protect their average check by pushing add-ons, premium sides, and higher-priced specialty burgers. It's rational from a spreadsheet view. It can feel cynical from the table. And burgers are one of the most competitive foods in America. People know what a burger should cost and how big it should feel. If the burger looks smaller or the fries look lighter, customers don't need a calculator to feel cheated. Another hidden cost is time. As labor gets tighter, wait times rise. If your quick burger night turns into a long wait, a loud dining room, and an inconsistent meal, you don't come back often. This is why brands in this situation lean hard into loyalty programs and limited-time items. They are trying to create urgency when habit has weakened. Applebee's, at number 6, is a brand that has tried to stay relevant by leaning into value deals and heavy promotion, while also adjusting its footprint. In a widely distributed earnings release covering the fourth quarter of 2025, the company behind the brand reported domestic comparable sales for Applebee's down slightly in that quarter, and guidance pointed to a net reduction in the domestic restaurant count over the next year, meaning closures are expected to outpace new openings for the brand on a net basis. Here's why this matters, even if you think, I don't care about earnings releases. These are the documents where chains quietly admit what customers have been feeling. When traffic is soft, brands talk about value constantly, and value can be real, but value can also be engineered. A deal might look generous, but it can be designed to steer you into ordering higher margin items, or to require an add-on purchase, or to limit options in ways that protect cost. Meanwhile, the everyday menu drifts upward in price. That split experience is what makes people feel like chains are playing games. Another angle is off-premise dining, meaning takeout and delivery. When a sit-down chain starts relying more on food leaving the building, it changes everything. Packaging costs matter more, speed matters more, consistency matters more, and small mistakes feel bigger because you're not in the restaurant to ask for a fix. Under that pressure, it becomes tempting to simplify ingredients and standardize portions, which can make the food feel less satisfying. If you want a practical consumer tip here, it's this. Watch whether the best deals are becoming more restricted and whether the default menu keeps creeping up. That is often a sign the brand is trying to balance value messaging with the need to raise the average ticket. Pizza Hut at number 5 shows what it looks like when a giant brand has to shrink to reset. Pizza is a ruthless category. Customers are trained to look for deals, and delivery costs can turn a cheap dinner into a surprisingly expensive receipt. In early 2026, widely reported coverage said the chain planned to close about 250 underperforming United States locations in the first half of the year, and the same reporting described domestic sales pressure in the prior year and a global store count that fell overall. Now let's talk about why pizza chains can feel greedy even when the store is struggling. It's the structure of the order. Pizza menus often show a low headline price, but the final cost climbs through delivery fees, service fees, tips, and the way toppings and sides are priced. Even if a chain doesn't control every fee in every situation, the customer only sees the final total. When that total keeps rising, people don't just cut back, they change habits. They pick up food instead of delivering. They cook at home. Or they buy a frozen pizza and stop thinking about it. Another pressure point is franchise economics. Many pizza stores are run by franchisees who have to pay rent, labor, and food, then also pay fees back to the brand. If a store is in a weak location, those fees can turn a marginal business into a money-losing business. Closures become the exit. The takeaway for viewers is simple. When you see a pizza brand cutting locations while pushing aggressive deals, it often means the system is trying to protect the strongest stores and let the weakest ones go, because the old, every neighborhood needs one model is no longer guaranteed. KFC at number 4 is an iconic name that still has enormous global reach. But its struggle in certain markets has been a recurring theme, and the public data shows a brand working to regain momentum. In industry reporting during 2025, the brand's United States same-store sales were described as down in a quarter, where other parts of the business performed better, and later earnings materials showed only modest domestic growth in a more recent quarter, which tells you the brand is fighting for traction rather than coasting. Chicken is not a simple commodity anymore. Costs move, supply shifts, and frying chicken is labor and time. Unlike a burger you can slap on a grill quickly, fried chicken has steps, timing, and waste risk. That means labor issues hit harder. It also means consistency matters more. If the chicken is overcooked, it's dry. If it's undercooked, it's a safety problem. In a tight labor environment, training and retention become survival tools, not nice to have. Now layer on price pressure. Fried chicken has been pushed into bigger bundles and higher-priced meals over the years, often with more emphasis on premium sandwiches, add-ons, and limited-time items. That can be smart marketing. But when customers feel like the basic bucket got smaller or pricier, they interpret it as greed even if costs drove it. Another friction point is time. If the drive-thru takes too long, customers bail. If you ever see a chicken chain pushing app-only deals more aggressively, it's often because they want to smooth demand and predict orders, which helps kitchens manage frying cycles. It's efficient. It can also feel unfair if you just want to order normally without jumping through hoops. Burger King, at number 3, is a brand that has openly been in turnaround mode, and the franchise system has shown stress through bankruptcies and store count declines in recent public reporting. In coverage focused on franchise health, reporting noted a decline in the United States restaurant count in a recent year and highlighted a large multi-unit franchisee bankruptcy filing, which is a loud signal that store-level profitability is not automatically guaranteed even for a famous name. Here's the part that explains the years of greed vibe without turning into conspiracy. A big franchise chain lives and dies by store economics. If the brand asks franchisees to remodel, upgrade equipment, and spend more on marketing, franchisees need enough profit to do it. When beef costs rise, labor costs rise, and traffic softens, that profit can vanish. Then the franchisee has to choose: cut corners or close stores. Cutting corners can mean slower service, less maintenance, and a tighter labor schedule that makes the store feel chaotic. Customers experience that as they don't care anymore. Meanwhile, the corporate side often pushes for better products and better marketing to win customers back. That can mean premium items, more complex builds, and promotions that drive traffic but hurt margin. It's a tug of war. Customers get caught in the middle and see price hikes, smaller-feeling meals, and constant new menu items that don't fix the basics. The fastest way to see whether the turnaround is working is not the commercials, it's consistency. Is the food the same every visit? Is the drive-thru fast? Is the dining room clean? Those are the fundamentals that collapse when a system is financially strained. Wendy's at number 2 is a strong brand that is still large and visible, which is exactly why the recent numbers grabbed attention. In February of 2026, reporting tied to the company's own earnings discussion said it expected to close roughly 5 to 6% of its United States restaurants in the first half of the year, and the same reporting pointed to a sharp domestic sales drop in the prior quarter, which is the kind of hit that forces hard decisions. Closures at that scale are not about one bad corner. They're about system math. The company is basically saying, some of these restaurants cannot meet the standard we need, and keeping them open drags everything down. Now let's connect that to the greed feeling customers talk about. Over the past few years, fast food has tried to behave like fast casual. That means bigger emphasis on premium sandwiches, special bundles, and higher average checks. It works until it doesn't. When customers start feeling squeezed, they stop ordering the extras. They skip the drink. They skip the fries. They stop visiting as often. Suddenly, the brand has to chase value again, which is why you see more attention on cheaper meal deals and app promotions. The controversy is that chains often create the problem by pushing price too far, then act like heroes when they bring back value. From a business view, it's a cycle. From a customer view, it feels like manipulation. Another pressure point is speed and accuracy. When you try to run a tighter labor schedule to save money, you can slow the line and raise mistakes. That drives away customers, which makes the store even less profitable, which leads to closures. If you see a store constantly out of items, constantly asking you to pull forward and wait, or constantly pushing you toward app deals because they're cheaper, you're watching a brand trying to stabilize demand and protect margins at the same time. McDonald's at number 1 is here because it's the biggest bellwether in the whole space. When this chain feels pressure, the entire industry feels it. In the spring of 2025, major business coverage reported a steep United States comparable sales decline for the quarter ending in late March, and additional reporting noted meaningful traffic declines among middle-income customers, which is a huge warning sign because this brand's superpower is volume. And then, in results released in February of 2026 covering the end of 2025, the company reported strong comparable sales growth again, which shows how hard it has been working to pull customers back with value and promotions rather than pretending the problem never happened. That swing is the story. When prices rise too far too fast, even a giant can lose visits. People don't always trade down to a competitor. Sometimes they trade down to eating at home. And that's the scariest outcome for fast food, because you can't win that customer back with a new sandwich alone. You win them back by rebuilding trust, predictable prices, consistent portions, fast service, and a feeling that the deal is real without needing a complicated set of steps. This is where the greed theme lands. Over years, the industry learned it could push price per visit higher through premium items, larger combos, and constant add-ons. But customers learned too. They started noticing when the affordable option didn't feel affordable. They started noticing when the best price required an app, a coupon, or a limited-time bundle. And they started questioning whether the convenience was still worth it. The behind-the-counter reality is that this brand runs a massive franchise system where consistency is everything, and small changes ripple through thousands of stores. If you shift pricing strategy, it changes traffic patterns. If you shift traffic patterns, it changes staffing and speed. If speed slips, customers bail. The company has been forced to fight that chain reaction in real time. The reason it's number one is not that it's about to vanish. It's that it shows the whole game. When even the biggest name has to lean hard into value messaging again, it's proof that the push prices forever era has limits. The big takeaway from these 15 stories is simple. Closures are rarely random. They usually follow a pattern. Costs rise, prices creep up, quality and speed slip, traffic drops, and then the weakest locations get cut. Greed is often what it feels like from the customer side, because you see higher prices and more hoops, while the experience gets less satisfying. If you want to stay ahead of it, watch for the early signs. Reduced hours, smaller menus, constant item shortages, slower service, and deals that only work if you add more to the order. If you've noticed any of these changes at your local spots, hit like, share this with someone who always says fast food never changes, and comment with one specific chain you think is most at risk and what changed first in your area.